everyone, my name is Raquel Forsgren. Today we're talking about building resilience, and one way we do that is through reasoning. There are three components to using reasoning to build resilience. The first is about problem solving and learning how to think critically, being curious about what we're thinking, what we're feeling. The second is being able to anticipate and prevent events from happening. So this is just about practicing being positive and looking at what's to come. We'll go over that as well. The third and the last thing is looking at our own reasoning bias. This is going to take a little bit of vulnerability on our parts, and we'll come back to that in a second. So let's go back to the very first one. So about the problem solving and critical thinking. So one of the biggest challenges that we have in our days, and all of you that are nurses that I'm working with, this happens to you even more so, is that you are already at your max. So you're using your problem solving skills and you are critical thinking all day long, all the while you're being empathetic and giving compassion to all of your patients. And so how do we do that in the moment when there's a very stressful incident that might have just happened? You might have just lost a patient. You might have even felt stressed because you had one more administrative to-do put on your list. So come back to the basics on self-awareness. It's grounding the feet. It's taking a nice inhale with an extended exhale, remembering that you can do this with your eyes open. No one even will know what you're doing. But it's becoming very, very grounded very quickly, right in that moment. Then it's getting curious. It's saying to yourself, where am I feeling this in the body, right? And then it's, why am I thinking what I'm thinking? And what else am I thinking around this topic? Am I judging it? Am I judging someone? It's just starting to ask yourself questions. That right there is critical thinking. So you've already done all of that just in a few moments. And as much as you practice, it becomes very habitual. So the second concept is anticipating and planning for what a future event could bring. And this is where your work every day, practicing what you are, is going to come in. So it's anticipating, let's say for example, you know that you're going to have a really challenging week. You might have some stem cell transplants coming up, or you might have a couple of patients that you know that your oncologist is going to be having a conversation with them about discontinuing treatment, whatever that might be. Anticipate the event. Visualize yourself in that event, how you'd like to handle it, how you'd like to communicate, what you'd like to bring of yourself to that particular event. Or if you just know you're going to have one wild and crazy week, it's waking up with those practices that I talked about before of setting the tone for your day. Definitely committing to how you want to feel that day, show up that day, and what you need to bring to be on your game that day. So again, these are anticipating and visualizing these scenarios happening. And then the last element, which is around the reasoning bias. So this reasoning bias is taking a real deep look at our ego, which is really scary for most of us, realizing that we all have them, and we need to have an ego. It just needs to be healthy, and we have to be able to recognize where our own blind spots are, recognize where we might have developed habits in the past that served us really well at those times in our lives, and that maybe it might be time to change them, evolve them, or even let them go completely. And it's being able to feel the vulnerability, and I point to my stomach because, boy, when I'm feeling vulnerable, I feel it right here. I get butterflies, or I get sick to my stomach. There's some sort of sensation I get right in the top of my belly, right below my xiphoid process. And so it is looking at that and just acknowledging that it feels vulnerable to let our guards down, to look at ourselves and think, I might have handled that differently. or looking at it during the end of your day and thinking, this went really well, this went really well, I really sucked at this. And not beating yourself up for it, but using it as a way to reshape the next day. And so I wanted to read you a quote, actually, from Brene Brown. You've heard me talk about her book before, from her Dare to Lead. And she says, empathy is connecting to the emotions that underpin an experience. Think about that. Empathy is connecting to the emotions that underpin an experience. So I would just encourage you to look at your own reasoning skills, practice it over this next week. Think about how you are facing stressful situations now. Think about how you react, and try those simple, basic cues that we've gone over before, just as a recap: grounding the feet, closing the eyes or keeping the eyes open, but taking a nice inhale and an extended exhale. Asking yourself the questions where you feel it in your body, what you're thinking about, and just start to uncover from there. Give it a try and reach out to me with any questions. And I look forward to seeing you soon as we continue our topic on building resiliency.